Good evening, YouTube or BookTube, whoever is watching this video. It is still January the 1st, 2019. It is now 8:54 at night. And I talked about doing a video about what I plan to read in January 2019. And I've been thinking about it all day, and to be honest, I don't really know what I'm going to read. Now, I did show the books this morning on the Gospel of John. I know I'll read those, but as I look over my history of reading, I tend to get kind of bored with something after 2 or 3 weeks. So I commented to somebody today that I might go back to reading the Reformation commentary on the book of Psalms. I might do that. I do have a book coming in the mail, I told you, on January the 10th. Some New Testament study on the ascension and exaltation of Christ that I might read as a break away from reading the book on the doctrine of the Trinity in John's Gospel, the Gospel of John. But I don't really know what I'm going to read. I did order a book of short stories. Our daughter Beth and her husband Andy sent me an Amazon gift card, and I bought this book of short stories that I can't recall or how to pronounce the author's name. She's a South American writer who's, I think, has passed away. So I don't really know what I'm going to read. I'm always amazed when I watch BookTube videos that people, well, I've read 44 books this year and I'm going to read 76 books. I don't really have any book plan. I don't have any... I don't really structure my reading. I just read whatever comes across my desk, or whatever my interest, or maybe what I find at a thrift store, or what's in my library, or a book that I was reading a couple of months ago, but I put it down, and then I might pick it back up. I never really know what I'm going to read. I do know that I try to read throughout the year essays, memoirs, biographies, books on the Bible, Reformation commentary, or something like that. I like to read Christian spirituality. I was really surprised when I looked at the year 2018. I thought I had read the collected works of St. John the Cross, but I really didn't do it until the last month of 2018. But it's amazing because how fast those 12 months have passed. Now, as I look over the many years, I have read throughout the years the writings, the collected works of St. John the Cross. And but I was surprised that 6, 8, 9, 10 months can go by since reading Saint John of the Cross. So, and I tend to just read in a certain kind of specialized area. I don't, if you look at people in BookTube, they tend to gravitate towards certain types of literature. It could be science fiction, it could be romance, it could be a certain writer like Stephen King, and but I tend to try to mix it up throughout the year. History, biography, letters, memoirs, things like that. And I do waste a lot of time. That seems like I'm wasting a lot of time. I mean, I write in my diary. I spend a lot of time on the computer looking at videos, looking at music reviews, reading other things. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube. And I spend a lot of time just sitting, staring off into the distance. So, to be honest, I don't really know what I'm going to read in January 2019. I have been reading this evening. I got this book in the mail last week, Allen Ginsberg, Iron Curtain Journals, January through May of 1965. I was reading those tonight, and like a book like this, I mean, I bought this book, The Best Minds of My Generation, A Literary History of the Beats by Allen Ginsberg. What this is, Allen Ginsberg didn't actually write this book. What they did, they edited it by Bill Morgan, who is a Beats scholar. For many years, Allen Ginsberg taught at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics at Naroba Institute in Colorado. He taught this class on the literary history of the Beats, and it was taped. So what Bill Morgan did, he went through these, I don't know how many hours of tapes of recordings of Allen Ginsberg teaching this class, and he transcribed them. When he edited them, of course, Allen Ginsberg throughout all those classes repeated himself, told the same stories, etc. So what Bill Morgan did is he got some kind of narrative flow. So as you read through it, he goes through the writings of he looks at William Burroughs, and then right now he's looking at Kerouac, Jack Kerouac. Allen Ginsberg's going through lecturing on Jack Kerouac and his writings. And then I noticed that like chapter 31, Jack Kerouac and Fame, and then after that, he goes into Gregory Corso, who is one of the minor beat poets. So he goes through his poetry and kind of gives an analysis of it from Allen Ginsberg's perspective, which is very biased, obviously. So it's not really actually a book written by Allen Ginsberg, but Bill Morgan listened to all these lectures that Allen Ginsberg gave at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied. How's it go here? I mean, yeah. He taught at the Naroba Institute in Colorado, and so that's what it is. But this book came out in 2017, and I bought it right. So here it is, 2018. I've been reading it. Well, I've read it in 2017 and 2018, and here I am now reading it in 2019. So that's what I do. I'll read something, I'll put it aside, I'll pick it up maybe a year later or 6 months later. I'll read some of the lectures, some of the chapters, and then I'll put it back down on the lower level. So I don't really know what I'm going to read, whatever the Spirit leads. So I can't say I don't know how many books I read in 2018. I don't know how many books I read in a month. I just read. It's the same thing about I write. I don't know. I've been writing since I was in high school about my life. And I've been reading my whole entire life something. Now, throughout all these many years, I've read, for many years as a Christian, I just read Reformed theology. Or once in a while, I'd read a novel by John Updike with John Irving or Saul Billows. Or I would read some book by one of the Beats, Jack Kerouac, On the Road, or William Burroughs, Junkie, or some poetry by Allen Ginsberg. But I spent many years just reading theology, studying the Bible. Of course, I went to Bible college, I went to seminary, I taught Sunday school for many years, 10 years, adult Sunday school. I raised kids from infancy up until they were into college. I've been married going on 40 years. So a lot of my time has been devoted to those things, being a father. Now I'm a grandfather. I'm a husband. I spend a lot of time with my wife, interacting with my wife. But I do read. I read newspapers. I read things online. I read now, since I haven't been working since June of 2007, I've gotten into all kinds of literature. When I was working, I didn't have that much time to read, so I read, Puritan theology. I read books that I had to read in order to prepare for Sunday school classes. And plus, when I was working, I was always mentally exhausted. I was blown out of the water. I was always tired because my job was very physical. It was all manual labor, unloading trucks, carrying eggs, and working on an egg processing line, feeding eggs into an egg processing machine 8, 9, 10 hours a day. For 15 years I did that. Suffering from depression, suffering from lack of assurance of salvation, going through the struggles of just living in this fallen world. But I always read something. I would take books with me to work and read at my lunch break, and I would write a little bit at lunch break in my diary. And on weekends, and when I was off from work, I had vacation times. I would go to bookstores, Christian bookstores on weekends, and I would go to the seminary library here in Holland, Western Theological Seminary. So I always been reading throughout all my life. Even when I was not married, living out in California, I would go to seminary libraries. I would go to bookstores in Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. I didn't have any money for books in those days, but I had there were Christian libraries, and I spent a lot of time just reading the Bible when I was really a young Christian. Of course, I went to college. After high school, I went to junior college there in San Pablo, California, Contra Costa Junior College, and I studied art history, sociology, American literature, things like that. And when I studied drama, I studied European history, things like that. But I've always been reading, even when I was sick or when I was depressed or exhausted or blown out. I just love books. I love to read. Even if it was just the Bible, the Word of God, I would just read the Bible. Of course, I went to church, went to Bible studies, and I listened to sermon tapes and theology tapes for many, many years. And so I've always been exposing myself not only to the Word of God, the Bible, but to literature, like Allen Ginsberg or Jack Kerouac or Saul Bellows or Joyce Carol Oates, or I've always been reading American history, American church history, always reading something. Of course, I went to college for 4 years. I went to seminary for 3.5 years. I have a bachelor's degree and I have a master's degree. I'm considered educated, well-read. So, but once again, I don't know what I'm going to read in January 2019. I really don't. I just go with the flow. I kind of live from one day to the next. I have a hard time planning out anything. I just try to live from one day to the next, even though I live in dread that Trump's going to bring America down to its knees before China and Russia. But who knows? I'm a pessimist. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to read in January 2019. So that's all I wanted to say in this video. And I'll sign off and I'll download this. And until next time, bye.